The type of stuff that's going on right here, you have to have the skills to be able to dissect that and say, well, what are they not showing me? What are they showing me? Why are they showing me this? What does this mean? What does this make me feel or make me think? Right? Now, one of the things about this game, too, and I made a note, you guys talked about race in the movie. Now, you guys have all played, some people played like Halo. You guys raise your hand, right? Anybody play other Army games? Medal of Honor, what else? Call of Duty, yeah, Call of Duty. Who were you shooting? SOCOM 3. Who were you shooting? Germans, right? In World War II. Anybody play Battlefield 2? Rainbow Six, right? It's really interesting to look at these kinds of experiences that people are putting themselves into and ask, who is the enemy? Who's being portrayed as the enemy here? It's roundly in most modern games the Middle Eastern man is the enemy, regardless of what the situation is. In fact, most of the narration behind these kinds of games all put the enemy in a position not to be able to reply back to any of the accusations being put on them. Okay, so it's a real one-sided view of who we should feel good about. One of the things you mentioned was history and creating legends. You know, it's interesting to think that the people that are playing these games, you guys that played Medal of Honor, you know a little bit more about World War II than the layperson might, because you've been involved in a game that retold those stories of World War II. Those stories were told you in a particular way and presented the enemy in a particular way that you might not have questioned, right? And that history that you are now holding will be carried on. They have recreated history in their own way. Does that make sense? They are recreating a story. Computer games are not just games anymore, are they? It's not like, Candyland. They're doing something else, right? Let me show you something else here. This is, you can get this on YouTube. I'm going to give Greg all the links that I'm showing you here in class. This is a Discovery Channel show called Gamer Generation. It's got 5 parts and it talks about a lot of different stuff, but 3 of the 5 parts focus on military games. Okay? The first part here, which I'll show you, give you some broad idea of the America's Army game, focuses just on kind of the background. The second part, which if we have time I might show you, focuses on a new development in the Middle East. Game developers are creating a reply to these types of games. Games in which the Afghan or the Iranian army are the heroes. And they're fighting the American or the Israeli. Right? So when we look at that, we go, wait a minute, they're shooting Americans. Ooh, that's a bad game. Ooh, that's not right. But somehow when we shoot Middle Easterns, Iranians, that makes sense because, they're bad. Right? So it's challenging us to look at. Let's take a look at this real quick.
United States, the Army is turning gamers into soldiers.
It's in-game footage there.
Army, computer games are a top priority.
There's also many simulation games they do too.
Games in order to train the next generation of soldiers. First, the Army needs to get the message out to young Americans. The battle for the hearts and minds of the gamer generation is underway.
Let me put it this way. We're a volunteer army. We're competing with industry for the attention and potentially to employ.
This is the person they hired, the creator of the game.
The Army has found that the old ways of reaching kids had stopped working. At the turn of the millennium, recruitment hit its lowest point in 30 years. Colonel Casey Wardinsky was an economics professor at West Point, studying the recruitment problem. He realized that the Army needed to speak a new language. He convinced the Pentagon
A new
to
language.
the development of a computer game that could sell the Army to a digital generation.
The only video game developed by the world's premier land force.
It's called America's Army.
From the barracks to the battlefield, it's the most authentic military game ever.
There you go. Defend
What we want to do
freedom.
is sort of create a revolution in the way we talk to kids. We want to be in the business of conveying information about being a soldier in ways that are relevant. The idea of the game actually came to me watching what my sons were interested in when we went shopping. And the games they were most interested in were ones that looked like the Army, either past, present, or future. So it was an aha moment.
Wardinsky.
Okay, I'm going to pause it right there. So one of the things about that particular segment there that I think we can look at specifically is they mentioned that they're looking to train people. Okay, and if they're going to agree that video games and simulations are adequate ways to train people for real life situations, what then are the responsibilities they must carry for that kind of training and simulation? I mean, if they're saying that the training is going to happen there, they want to try to make that as authentic as possible, do they then have the responsibility to show that when people die, that can happen in very gruesome ways, right? When people blow up, you don't have this ragdoll kind of body. Should they have to show that kind of realism too? Right? Yes?
I said no, because they're trying to sell it. They want kids to be interested in the Army. Always show that also being realistic.
And this is, you're tapping into something I think is important, and we're going to wrap up here in a second. I think it's important for us to look at not the fact that the Army is producing a video game. Okay, the video game is another form of media that they're going to use to recruit people. You're very right. They used magazines, pamphlets, commercials, TV commercials. They're going to use any available type of media. That to us shouldn't be the most important thing. I think the most important thing, though, is that how are they doing that? And I think it all comes back to the idea of responsibility. If we're going to create these virtual environments, so we're going to say these things are very helpful to us as humans, we're going to need these things to help us train, to be prepared, to learn and experience new things. In what ways do we have responsibilities to create those things that show multiple sides of an event, right? How are we going to be able to think critically about those things and say, yeah, but you're not showing me this. And so now you're pushing me to believe, to feel, or to act in a certain way. You're using rhetoric on me, man. You do it all the time. We all do it. But you need to be aware of it. And it's you guys. You're the digital generation. Your children that are going to be faced with this blurred line. What is simulation and what is virtual and what is real and what, you can touch. Guys, you've all seen Matrix. That was the question, right? Well, where is that line? Where is that line? Right? You're going to have to figure that out. You're going to have to make those decisions because your kids are going to be playing with stuff that's way beyond that. Way beyond that. And you're going to be faced with those questions and have to answer them. So you need to think about it. Okay? So I hope this has brought up some interesting questions. I'll give Greg all the links so you can look at all the stuff that I did for the research. There's so much more to this. There's so much that we can talk about and think about with the computer games. But I appreciate your time. Thank you.